The fleet dropped out of FTL nearly a light second from the planet. Ahead was a bright blue planet with swirling white clouds floating above it. The land was shades of green and brown across 7 massive continents. The poles were capped in brilliant white, and the single moon, hugged by the planet's gravity, sailed on through the night. "Scanner officer," Overmaster Pick said. "What do we see?" "Nothing interesting, Overmaster. Surface is mostly water. Many hives across the surface. No communications. No signs of intelligent life," the scanner officer said. "Well, Landmaster Kettle, is this the world you plan to invade? An empty world on the outskirts of the galaxy?" The Overmaster's cruel voice creaked. "The coordinates are correct, Overmaster. The hub directed our fates and they have ordered us here," Landmaster Catal said. "Ah, the hub," Overmaster Pick said. "They never leave their citadel yet think to command us at the far reaches of eternity. You are my equal, Landmaster, so I cannot order you to ignore your orders. But I would counsel a tactical re-evaluation." The Landmaster pivoted his multi-jointed neck to better look at the Overmaster. "No, you cannot order me. I shall take a launch for a closer look." The invasion orders told of a massive civilization that had barely begun to leave their homeworld and only recently even discovered other civilizations. Billions of beings do not vanish. The Overmaster squinted his one good eye stalk at the Landmaster. "You think of the Weka." The Landmaster turned back to the forward hologram. "Not as such. The Weka lived their entire lives underground, and our sensors could not penetrate to see them. That is why Landmaster Hinnel was defeated, and why we still study his grand failure. But this species is a surface dweller. They live in sunlight, not in darkness." Overmaster Pick nodded. "Shipwright, prepare a launch for the Landmaster and his team. They are going down for a closer look." "Sir!" the scanner officer squealed. In the main hologram display, the blue planet turned. A giant fire was raging across the largest continent in view. The fire was a line several hundred kilometers long along the equator, and at least 20 kilometers wide. As the line grew in length, racing across the face of the continent far faster than any fire could naturally, it blossomed into a massive circle. The ending circle was at least 100 kilometers wide and burned with a brilliant blue light. The orange light of the line was fading gradually as the blue light of the circle blazed away. "An invitation?" Overmaster Pick asked. "Or a trap," Landmaster Catal said. "Either way, we must investigate. I will still take the launch, but now we at least know where to go." An hour later, the small ship detached from the massive carrier and fell away. It plunged through the atmosphere with a trail of burning plasma in its wake. The pilot slewed the ship around and made towards the blue circle, which had dwindled to being barely noticeable in the time it had taken to launch. The shuttle settled down on bare dirt as its landing struts bit into the turned soil. The hatch depressurized and popped open. A dozen trained soldiers spilled out and secured the landing zone. Landmaster Catal strode out of the shuttle when they gave the all-clear. Ahead of him was a brightly colored piece of cloth held aloft and spread out by a metal pole. Under this covering was some manner of lounger and one of the beings of this planet. There were additional assorted pieces of materials scattered about. "Evening!" the being shouted across the distance between them. Landmaster Catal waited for the translator to spin up and explain this crude language. "Who are you?" Landmaster Catal demanded. "Me, I'm Paul," the being said. The painfully bright fabrics this thing had draped around itself was distracting the Landmaster. Darkened lenses covered what Catal believed to be the creature's eyes. "Paul," Landmaster Catal said. "Very well. I am Landmaster Catal, here to conquer this pitiful excuse of a planet. My masters believe you may be of some use to our empire, though I can scarcely see how." "Empire, huh?" Paul said. "Well, that's something, but we're gonna pass." "Pass? What does this mean?" Landmaster Catal said. "We're gonna pass. We appreciate your offer, but we're not really interested in being part of your empire," Paul said. Listen, Paul, this is not a choice you may make. It is an inevitable fact of life. We will conquer you, and you will serve our empire in whatever manner the hub decrees," Landmaster Catal said. "Yeah, that's not gonna work for us. Thanks for stopping by, though," Paul said. He turned to walk back to his beach chair under the umbrella, his collage-like Hawaiian shirt flapping in the gentle breeze. Landmaster Catal looked to the soldiers around him and felt the embarrassment well up from deep inside him. "You are conquered!" Landmaster Catal roared. Paul plopped down into the beach chair and looked up at the invading aliens. "Okay then," he said. "What does that mean? Is this some kind of trick?" Landmaster Catal looked to Paul with slitted eyes. "Nope, there's no trick. Okay, you invaded Earth. Bravo, good for you. You managed to take over a planet with no inhabitants," Paul said. "What? No inhabitants? There were billions of your people here. We will conquer them and control this failed civilization," Landmaster Kettle said. "There's nobody to conquer, Sport. It's just me. I'm the only one here. I'm supposed to turn out the lights when I leave and make sure we didn't leave the stove on," Paul said. "Impossible. Your people don't have teleportation technology or a galactic reach. There are billions of you miserable creatures here, and we will destroy all opposition you present. Man, you're just not getting it. We split. We're gone. We stopped the mail and didn't leave a forwarding address. The joint is empty," Paul said. He sighed and stared at the aliens. He sat up and reached into the cooler sitting next to his chair. As his hand went into the cooler, the alien soldiers snapped their weapons up and took aim. "Easy there, dirty dozen," Paul said. "This is a Budweiser, not a gun," he said as he pulled a beer from the cooler. He popped the top with a cool ksh and took a long drink. "I didn't know how long you assholes would take," he said, wiping his mouth. "And I'm not sitting in the middle of Africa without a drink." Landmaster Catal could feel his pulse in his ears. The thriving beat made his vision blur. "Insolent vermin," Landmaster Catal said. "I have conquered a dozen worlds, each 10 times as powerful as this heap. I have burned entire civilizations to cinders when they opposed me. I have destroyed—" "Blah, blah, blah," Paul said. "Yeah, we heard about you. The TKEX told us, hey guys, there's some intergalactic assholes headed your way. So we knew you were coming. It took some doing, but we decided to split." "The TKEX, spineless cowards. We will deal with them once your people are subjugated." "That's where I'm going to disagree with you, Chief," Paul said. "First, you're not going after the TKEX. Second, you're not going to subjugate us. You think to stand against our might?" The astonishment in Landmaster Catal's voice was evident even through the translator. A few of the soldiers coughed out a grating laugh. "So, a little story. I'm from a place called America. We were a colony of a much stronger empire called Britain when we first started out. We wanted to split off from them, and they weren't so hot on that idea. They sent their army, best in the world at the time, and we kicked their ass. See, they were thinking about armies and battle lines and honor and rules. We were thinking about killing. We had a wildly unprofessional army, little more than armed thugs actually, and we cheated. We'd hide, we'd ambush, we'd sneak up on them while they were sleeping. All sorts of ungentlemanly tactics. And they lost. Of course, a couple hundred years later we went to a place called Vietnam. We were the best army in the world at the time, and they had nothing. So they hid, they ambushed, they snuck up on us while we were sleeping. We lost. I guess what I'm trying to say is, yeah, you've got the best army in the galaxy, but we're gonna cheat. We took our whole population and left our homeworld. There's nobody here but me. You want Earth? Fine. It's yours. Congratulations. You've got Earth. But humanity is coming for you. We turned our entire civilization nomadic in a matter of years. We've practiced guerrilla warfare since we walked upright. We're not in this to fight. We're in this to kill. We don't want glory and honor. We want heads and blood. And here's the best part. No matter how many of us you kill, we'll just keep coming. We'll use those deaths to fuel our anger. We'll sing songs about how our brave heroes died standing up to you sons of bitches. We'll tell stories about heroic sacrifice in the face of overwhelming odds, and we will just keep coming. You'll have a supply convoy get wiped out by a rogue comet. You'll have a colony with a mysterious epidemic. You'll have a military installation taken out by a suicide bomber. You'll have generals wake up with their throats cut. You'll have government officials disappear in the night. You'll have a wave of random crime break out on your homeworld. And we will just keep coming. So you've got Earth. Way to go. But you also have a shadow stalking you. You need to decide how much a good night's sleep means to you. Oh, sure, missing one night isn't anything. A second night hurts a little more. The third night gets to you. Now imagine a lifetime of watching over your shoulder, checking under the bed, jumping at every noise you hear. Imagine never knowing who's next, never knowing if it's you or the guy next to you. Now imagine that across your entire population. How long is your empire going to last under a strain like that? How long can you keep those other civilizations under your thumb when your civilization is tearing itself apart? Hell, we don't even have to take out that many of you. Just a few every now and then to remind you we're still out here. Landmaster Catal recoiled. He looked to the guards. The guards swept the area with their eyes. Paul took one last long draught of his beer and crushed the can when he was done. He looked into Landmaster Catal's eyes and said, "Be seeing ya." Paul, the umbrella, the chair, and all the material around him evaporated in a shower of sparkling light, leaving the alien standing alone on a deserted world in an indifferent universe